Did you notice how they were all bouncing on that one? Nobody could stand still. They were bobbing and weaving all over the place. Whoa, okay. When Monsignor Michael Devine was pastor of our neighbor congregation, St. Brendan's Roman Catholic Church, he received both praise and criticism for ending every Mass with a joke. Some thought it broke the spiritual mood which had been created by the service of communion, as well as by the subsequent hymn and benediction. Others appreciated the joyfulness thereby generated in a denomination which has often been seen as too somber and serious. Rightly or wrongly, that's what he did. Michael Devine still likes to tell and or hear a good joke. A good number of years ago, I married a young couple from Scotland. Her parents came over to participate in the ceremony, and later, when vacationing on Clearwater Beach over the course of several years, visited the chapel on Sunday mornings when they were in town. The last time I saw them, as they were leaving, I greeted them at the door, and he complimented the chapel with, and I admit that it was hard to understand everything he said because he had such a thick brogue, "We just love to come here to worship because the people in your church are happy, and we are allowed to laugh and have a good time. We could never do that at our church back home." And I remember that Richard Bernard, a past president of the chapel, always promoted our congregation by telling people that we did a lot of laughing. So with those examples in mind, periodically this morning I am going to share with you a few stories which I think and hope will make you laugh. If you don't find them funny, please laugh anyway, just to make me feel good. Let me kind of set the stage by starting with the following. Perhaps you have seen the cartoon of a stern-faced woman sitting in a worship service with two small children next to her, and they seem very happy because of the way they're looking, and they're kind of giggling and chatting with each other very quietly and respectfully, but happy nonetheless. And with an angry expression, she tells them, "You kids just wipe those smiles off your faces. You're in church." Groucho Marx offered a response to such an attitude. He was once congratulated by an elderly clergyman who was meeting him for the first time. "I want to thank you, Mr. Marx, for all the enjoyment you have given to the world." Groucho, who was not a great admirer of organized religion, replied, "And I want to thank you for all the enjoyment you've taken out of it." Now, where did we ever come up with the idea that church, religion, theology, indeed life itself, are nothing but serious and somber, or should be? The Bible talks constantly, especially in the Psalms, as seen in this morning's scripture reading, about praising God with happiness, with laughter, with exuberance, with gratitude. The Psalms talk about shedding tears when tears are appropriate, but somehow turning them into shouts of joy, if possible, by the end of the day. Now, this is not the result of some Pollyanna wishful unreality that negates the fact that life contains loss and sorrow, or that our faith must deal with some issues, serious issues, if we are to be true to what we claim to believe. But walking around all the time with pinched mouths and frowning foreheads and dire expressions is not what our religion tells us that God expects from us. And if it does, then there's something very wrong with such a religion. After telling his congregation at a worship service that the church's finances were in very poor shape, the pastor decided to offer an incentive to promote increased giving. He indicated that whoever gave the most that morning would be allowed to select 3 hymns. After the offering had been collected, he glanced at the plate and noticed a check for $1,000. Really excited, he invited the donor, an elderly widow sitting in one of the back pews, to come up front so that he could personally thank her. When she reached the front of the church, he congratulated her on her generosity and told her to pick her 3 hymns. She looked around, pointed to the 3 most handsome men in the room and said, "I'll take him and him and him." Laughter is a saving grace. A life without laughter is not only sad, it is tragic. A faith for today, as it should be for every day, a faith for today, by which I mean a religious perspective that provides hope and courage and a vision that propels us out of bed every morning with enthusiasm despite the heartaches of the world, includes an appreciation of life as a kind of comedy. Healthy religion takes humor seriously. An enthusiastic member of the choir really could not sing to save himself, but he loved music and he simply would not give it up. Several parishioners suggested to him that he would make an excellent usher, but he would not take the hint. The choir director and some of the other members grew desperate. That's just how bad he was, and asked the pastor if there was anything that he could do about it, that if the man did not quit, others in the choir soon were going to, and in fact he would ruin the Christmas cantata that they had been working so hard on. The pastor reluctantly decided to take the bull by the horns and speak with the individual. So he suggested to the man that he leave the choir and find other ways to serve. The man asked why he should do that. The pastor said, "Well, I personally don't have much of an ear for music, and so I hate to say this, but 5 or 6 people have told me that you can't sing." "That's nothing," the man snorted. 30 have told me that you can't preach." Humor and a comic sense are not only good for one's health by exercising the lungs and jostling the muscles, but they also give us perspective. Humor enables us to see the human folly of ourselves and others more clearly, and to forgive ourselves and others for being fallible and sometimes downright funny. By revealing to us and others something basic about who we are, warts and all, humor forces us off our high horses of pomposity and self-righteousness to the point where hopefully We can laugh at ourselves and accept ourselves, warts and all. On deeper levels, being able to laugh at ourselves is akin to a kind of repentance with an educational component. When do we laugh at ourselves? When we do something wrong and or stupid about which we feel embarrassed and regretful. Well, knowledge of our misdeeds helps guide us in the future and steers us away from the idolatries of the heart and mind that surround us. And handling such knowledge with humor makes it easier to change. To be sure, humor can hurt, but more often it can heal the spirit as well as simply be an expression of joy at being alive. Humor saves us in part because it enables us to live through our worst foibles and failings, thus helping us survive. A minister was talking with one of his parishioners and told her, "You know, I wish I had 10 members just like you." "Really?" the woman responded. "I'm surprised to hear you say that. I realize that I often criticize your preaching, and I really don't put hardly anything into the plate when it goes by on Sunday mornings, and I don't do anything to help with any of the church's projects. Why in the world would you want 10 people just like me?" "Well," he said, "I'd like 10 like you because the truth of the matter is I've got 50 like you." One of the most redemptive dimensions of humor is its power to unite people and to help us overcome isolation. We establish a bond with any and all with whom we share laughter, don't we? A kind of camaraderie is created which overcomes, at least temporarily, whatever animosity might have existed, and a closeness ensues, especially when there was nothing holding laugh-sharing people apart in the first place. If you are laughing with someone else, you are not alone, and you will not feel so alone even after you might again be apart. In a mysterious way, some of the shadows of tragedy, large and small, flee away in the face of laughter. The pain is not as strong as the joy. And it is so good to realize that others see the world, or at least a part of the world, the same way that we do. The human contact, the shared meaning, the shared worldview, the shared perspective resulting with and from humor work together to create what we might call holy ground. As Jewish theologian Martin Buber observed, meeting and relationship are sacred. A church member invited his neighbor to go to worship services with him one Sunday morning. The neighbor noticed that when the pastor got up to preach, he ostentatiously took off his watch and placed it on the pulpit. "What does that mean?" the visitor whispered to his host. The member replied, "Unfortunately, it doesn't mean anything." The Reverend Bruce Southworth, former pastor of the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of New York in New York City, once suggested that as we see ourselves more clearly through the redemptive gift of laughter, we endure it more easily, we bring down tyrants and idols more quickly, we celebrate life's mystery and gifts more joyfully, we establish bonds of spirit more deeply. Thus we build hope out of humor and courage out of the comic. How does one survive in this world without a sense of humor? I can't imagine. But the sad fact is that not everyone has one, a sense of humor. So what are they to do? Well, they can start by not taking themselves so seriously that everything they do or say or think becomes for them a life and death issue, because it won't be for anyone else. And if everything is a life and death issue, then there is no room for any kind of joy. So without becoming frivolous, we can all loosen up and chill out. We can try to see the comedy in most situations. And when tragedy strikes, we can overcome our desperation and despondency by remembering what once made us laugh and realize that we will laugh again. The Ramayana, one of the two great Hindu epics, observes that there are three things that are real: God, human folly, and laughter. The first two are beyond human comprehension, so we must do what we can with the third. And we all know that Reader's Digest suggests that laughter is the best medicine. I would have to agree. How about you?